Today is January 6, 2014, and we are in Houston, Texas. Um, we are going to NASA. There, if I could zoom in. Is it NASA? I didn't see NASA. It's parking. So, see ya. Okay, we are inside the NASA in Houston. Pretty neat, huh? So I guess I'm gonna follow in my husband's lead. Angry Birds! Babe, can we ride that thing? Do you have to pay that? Oh man! I don't wanna pay. Oops, stop blocking my video. Mars. That they use for, science laboratory. NASA. Okay. Food court if you're hungry. So at least you know your option if you're hungry. So if you want to learn about the space shuttle main engine, so these are the information that you want to look at. Bathroom. So for those people who've never been inside the Seattle, then you can get a BS. How they look like. Got towels, washcloth, and like that. Pretty sealed. Pretty awesome, huh? So you're gonna look what's inside. Their food.
Chopstick, mira. Chopstick.
See again. So you get the toothbrush and the coffee with cream. So I don't know if I can eat like that. Because first thing, food. I want to go to Mars. I don't mind if I have to stay there for a year to 3 years, like my husband. But I'm sure my husband will go crazy. 3 years there. I don't mind. I need to just shave my hair so I don't have to put my hair worrying about it, showering.
Ey, hombre, quítense. Quítense. ¿Qué tomas foto? Chini.
¡Mami!
Imagine that. You need to learn all of that. No supply. Powder. See what it looks like.
Al final la estuve dando vueltas. Queríamos encontrar.
Ella creyó que yo iba a llorar.
Es que el lugar donde había estado me era equivocado.
Tío, ¿verdad que como los íbamos a marear? Iba para arriba.
Vete.
Yo quiero otra. Pero esta vez con Lindsay.
Ay, mala.
Fue suficiente.
Ah, no, si ella sí quiere.
Ella quiere otra también. Papi, al rato no puedo otra con Lindsay. ¿Por qué no?
Lindsay ganó. Yo creí que...
Here's my beloved husband. Hi, it's me. Really? Yeah, cold. My January. Enero 6. So where are we going, babe? Can you tell me more?
I'm Gene Cernan, Apollo astronaut. It is with great pride and pleasure that I welcome you on this tour. What makes the Johnson Space Center special is that the elite men and women who go into space work live and train here. What makes it successful is the teaming of the astronauts and the people who support them. From the largest indoor underwater training facility in the world to the operation of the largest orbiting science international station. Johnson Space Center has always been on the leading edge of discovery and innovation. I was last human to set foot on a moon. Right here and now, the men and women of JSC are working on a new generation of spacecraft for human spaceflight. It is indeed an exciting time to be here. On this tour, you will share and experience the spirit and the history that is the Johnson Space Center. Welcome. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon and get contained and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
John F. Kennedy gave his rousing speech at Houston's own Rice University in 1961. Spurred on by then Vice President Lyndon Johnson, the university had donated this land for construction of a new NASA center. NASA's brain trust and some carefully selected fighter pilots set up shop in these humble buildings. We're now approaching Rocket Park. We'll take a closer look at the rockets on the way back. For now, take yourself back to the year 1967. The Monkees' I'm a Believer was a #1 single, but the political climate was not so upbeat. 500,000 American soldiers were stationed in Vietnam, and tensions in the Cold War were running high. The space program was under immense pressure to get a man to the moon before the end of the decade. On January 27, 1967, tragedy struck the Apollo program. Flight director Gene
The test that day hadn't been going very well.
A flash fire broke out in the command module. 3 astronauts, Virgil and Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee died in the accident.
And we wrote 2 words into our vocabulary at mission control: tough and confident. Tough meaning we will never get shirked from our responsibilities because we are forever accountable for what we do.
Up ahead and to your right is Building 17.
This building houses the project office for Project Orion, which is America's next generation
spaghetti with meat sauce. Coming up on your far right is historic Mission Control, home of the Gemini and Apollo programs, Skylab, and all of today's space shuttle missions. Appropriately enough, Mission Control is at the heart of Johnson Space Center.
My job was to take any actions needed for crew safety and mission success.
Gene Kranz was flight director for many of those historic missions. In the movie Apollo 13, Gene was played by actor Ed Harris.
I had a team of between 15 and 21 controllers. These controllers had responsibilities for the space systems, trajectory operations, planning, facility operations, and medical backup, and an astronaut who provided the communications link between the ground team and the crew.
Back in July of 1969, Kranz's team of controllers gathered in Mission Control with astronaut Charles Duke in the position of capsule. The lunar lander neared the surface, and the moon was tense.
Getting down to the lunar surface was about to fulfill the pledge that we had made as young controllers to our now dead president, John F. Kennedy, and the crew of Apollo 1.
Gentlemen, we are now arriving to our first destination on this tour. Please remain seated, wait for the tram to come to a full and complete stop. After the tram stops, please exit off towards the right side of the tram. Make sure that before you exit, you have your row letter memorized. You'll be coming back to these same seats throughout the duration of the tour.
Oh, amazing, amazing.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to be going up 87 steps. If you're physically or medically able to go up these 87 steps, please meet with our driver Logan. He'll be assisting you up the elevator. If not at this time, if you can please follow me.
Follow the leader. "87 steps. Yeah, good exercise. By the time we finished this, I lost 5 pounds. Alright, now for video, not this. That's it, 87 steps. Doesn't feel like 87 steps. Oh wow.
Alrighty, again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you're going all the way down to the left-hand side of each row, please.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, please don't leave any empty seats between each row. Go all the way down to the left-hand side of each row, please.
Okay. All right, folks, we'll begin in just a second while we're waiting here. Somebody's going to ask me, what are these people doing in there, and you're out here. I'll tell you. These folks right here, this is what's called a Level 9 or VIP tour. You can only book it online. You only normally operate one a day. It's a 5.5-hour tour, and they get down on the floor of all the different buildings. And includes lunch and admission for 2 days. So it's really a great deal. So if you ever come here, look it up. It can only be booked online, but it's called a Level 9 tour. All right, that said, it looks like we have everybody in here, so we will begin. A quick safety announcement for you, though. Before we do begin, in the unlikely event that we'll have to vacate the room, we'll go out the door you came in, down the stairs you came up. If that's blocked, we'll go out this exit right here. A couple quick courtesy announcements. Just for the comfort of your fellow guests, if you've got phones on, if you could turn them on to quiet or vibrate so we don't interrupt. And also, if you've got anybody in your group who gets a little fussy and a little bit loud, if you want to get up during my presentation, stand in back in front of you, the consoles. That is all original equipment, no replicas. The room that you're in right here, the seats you might have noticed when you sat down nice and comfy, those are all 1965 seats. Everything is the original. A couple of the leftovers from the 60s I'll point out to reinforce that this is the real thing. Those in rows 2 through 5, you look at the seat back in front of you, there's these strange little metal things. Those are called ashtrays. Don't make those anymore, right? And in the back of the room, you'll see 2 illuminated doors on each side. Those are called phone booths. They darn sure don't make those anymore. All right. In front of you here, this is the actual mission control. One of the first things I like to point out is when you look at the consoles, you see the dark screens. You might think that they're monitors for an old-fashioned computer. They're not even that. Back in '65, when we opened up, we had no computers in mission control. We had one support computer to provide data, because those are data monitors. We had one computer, and I'll have to describe it for you. It was state-of-the-art back then, but it was definitely not like anything you've ever seen. They came in pieces or in units, looked like a refrigerator. They would put about 10 of those in a row, and they'd make 4 or 5 rows. That would equal one computer. I mean, it wouldn't even fit in this room. It took 10 people to operate this one computer, and it had a whopping 5 megabytes of memory. That's all it had. That's all we had to put man in space. Now, I'm going to call your attention to the right-hand side of the room up here. You see those plaques. Those are called mission plaques. What would happen before every mission into space, the astronauts would get together with a graphic designer, and they got to design their own plaques. Now, the design they've got up there reflects the objectives of their particular mission. That's why no 2 are the same, because no 2 objectives were the same on any mission. About the only similarity is they have the names of the astronauts on them. Now, what the astronauts would do is they would design their plaque. They would then actually get a mission patch that they put on their suits they wore in space. They'd get one of those made up, put that on their suits. But before they took off, they would give the plaque to the flight director, who was right next to the fellow in the blue jacket. The flight director was in charge of the whole mission. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But the flight director would then put the plaque on the left-hand side of the wall over here. When the astronauts got back from the mission, safe and sound, mission accomplished, they would have a ceremony in here. And they would get the astronauts on that flight. They would get the control workers in here. There would be about 150 workers in here. And they would have a ceremony. They'd take it down from the left. They'd put it on the right-hand side. And that's why we've got 41 over there, 41 missions that we handled in here. Now, I'll just talk about one of them, and that's that one right there. That is the most historic in there. That is the first one we handled here in Houston, Texas. That was the Gemini 4 back in 1965. That makes it historic, but even more historic, on board that flight was this astronaut right here, Ed White. And as you can tell from the outfit and from the picture, he walked in space, the first United States astronaut to walk in space. He was out there for 22 minutes, which was a world record back then. And just to contrast that with today's times, we just had astronauts out about a week or two ago on the International Space Station. They were out for 8 hours. 22 minutes, it was great. 8 hours, really nothing. They could have stayed out longer. Okay, what I'm going to do is point out a couple positions and kind of explain what the guys did, give you a feel for what they did back then. And by the way, I said guys. It was all guys back then. You may have seen old pictures, old movies, or you might see it on your way out here. But it was a bunch of guys that had flat tops and smoked their cigars. That's what we had. Not like that anymore. As a matter of fact, on the right-hand monitor, that's a live feed from our current mission control, which is male and female, and does not allow smoking. Okay, let's go back to the flight director. That is right on David's left-hand side where he's got that thing going there. The flight director is the most important position in there. They're all important, but he is the most important because he is in total and complete charge. Once that rocket takes off in Florida, it's fired up, and they say the magic word is cleared the launch pad, boom, Houston Mission Control takes over, the flight director takes over. And it's his mission. He's kind of like a conductor. I mean, he brings everybody together, brings them all in. He makes every important decision, and if there's any problems, he's got to handle it. And whatever he says goes. No one can override him. Even if it was President of the United States right here, could not override the flight director. He is in total, complete charge. And just like the famous words that we heard, Houston, we have a problem, that came through that speaker right there. When they said, Houston, we have a problem, it was dumped in his lap, and he had to start working and figure out how to get him home. That was his responsibility. Okay, we're going to go all the way to the back. The red phone. Right there. If I don't tell you what it is, somebody's going to ask the question, what's the red phone? All right. The red phone, that is the DOD desk, Department of Defense. Now, he had two major functions back in those days. One was he would constantly be in communications with the Pentagon, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, because this was just the beginnings of space travel, and the Pentagon wanted to know what was going on because, perfectly frank, they wanted to see if possibly there was something the Pentagon could use space travel for. So they wanted to be in on everything. His other major function back in the day was the retrieval of the astronauts. Back then, the astronauts would come back to Earth. They'd be float to Earth, actually, in a capsule. They have 3 or 4 parachutes. They splash down in the Pacific Ocean. Now, before they did that, he would pick up the red phone, call the Department of the Navy, and say, okay, guys, here's where they're splashing down at. Here's the coordinates. The Navy would then send aircraft carriers. He would send helicopters, and he would pick up the astronauts and pick up the capsule. That was his other job. So, ladies and gentlemen, just kind of wrapping this up here a little bit, let me just say, without what these brilliant young folks did in here at that time, we would not have the space program as we know it today. And let me go back. They were indeed brave. We had a lot of brain power in there. We had MIT grads. We had a Rhodes Scholar at one time. And I said young. They were young. The average age of the workers at that time was 26 years old. The flight director, the guy with all the responsibility there, they used to call him the old man. He was 31.
Assistant flight director.
I will tell you.
Flight surgeon. Oh my gosh. What's their assistant engineer?
I'm just waiting.
Oh, yeah, one more. Yeah. Somebody else would be maybe.
That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah. Thank y'all. What's your last one? We got Brooke next? Oh, good. I get embarrassed.
And then you wait, is that after that?
Yeah.
Closing this one? No. You closing out?
First head up, which is over 9 hours in space, including 7 spacewalks.
During the third spacewalk, we went to an area that stayed shadowed pretty much the entire time we were docking to the International Space Station. And it was in the back end of the Carter space shuttle. And it was absolutely freezing. It's the coldest I've ever been. It's the only time I've ever used my gloves. As a matter of fact,
Astronaut Mike Foster has walked over 21 hours on BA's Golden
to kind of peer out and see the clouds and the Earth rolling by 200 some miles below. When you slide out of the airlock hatch the first time, it's a feeling I'll never forget. Kind of hanging onto the handrails right by the hatch, trying not to look at the Earth down below as it's rolling by.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to be watching a short video presentation. Please direct your attention to the television. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the astronaut training facility. What you are seeing here is one of the largest classrooms in use for our scientists, astronauts, and engineers. In addition to the activities you see here in the High Bay area, the scientists and engineers are working behind the scenes to keep the space program current and moving forward. They are planning on developing new hardware along with new training procedures, which will then be used by our astronauts in the various mock-ups you see down below. Now, directly in front of us are mock-ups of the onboard International Space Station. Among these include living quarters, laboratory modules where all the space research will be done, sleeping quarters, and an airlock that allows our astronauts to exit the International Space Station for spacewalks. A partnership with 15 international space agencies operates the elements of the ISS. The principals include the space agencies of the United States, Russia, Europe, Japan, and Canada. Now, if you look behind and off towards the left, you'll see a large blank area. This area is known as the Precision Air Bearing Floor, or PAB-F. It allows our astronauts to work in a two-dimensional, frictionless environment as they would up in outer space, and it also allows our astronauts to easily move objects weighing up to 10 tons. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to be moving on to our second stop. If everyone can please follow me down and remember to keep their voices to a minimum. Alrighty guys, wait for me, please. Y'all were supposed to have stopped behind this yellow cone.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's everyone down there.
Yeah.
كم طالع ده؟ كم طالع 350 مليون. يلا مسؤولية.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you make your way down, if you look towards the back and towards the right, you'll see a large nose portion of the Space Shuttle Orbiter. This is known as the Secret Compartment Trainer, or CCT. The CCT can be rotated into both vertical and horizontal positions for launch and landing procedures, ingress and egress for emergency escape procedures. However, now since the Space Shuttle program is retired, this module will be given to museums to be core room for the International Space Station module. And NASA's next human exploration vehicle, their newest project, the Orion. If you look towards the back of this stop, you'll see two large white capsules. This is the future of NASA's the Orion. The Orion will serve as a human exploration vehicle that will carry up to 4 astronauts into deep space. This is a capability the nation has not had for almost 40 years. It provides an emergency abort capability during the climb to orbit. Sustain and 3-year space travel provides safe re-entry from deep space return velocities. The primary mission will be to carry our astronauts to Mars and other celestial bodies such as asteroids. Now if you look towards the back and towards the left, you'll see a large blue structure. This structure is known as the docking simulator, which is used to analyze your docking system.
هذا يشتغل
الصينيين يعني it looks like it's just floating. However, it is actually moving at a speed of 17,500 miles per hour, which is roughly 5 miles per second. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to be moving on to our third and our final stop. If everyone can please remember to stay close to the group and remember to keep your voices to a minimum. At this time, if you can please follow me.
دور السلام المنتظر وده ليه دور راح يحيط المريخ يعيش ولا لا؟ ايوه والله احب شغل فور فاضي هو المساء اللي قال مش الجاي ليمون ها؟
كمل بعد 6 شهور دورة
يمشوا 6 شهور 35 مليون يظلوا يمشوا 6 شهور هذا تخيل كم مول ايه بالمليون 35 مليون بس كم في الثانية ما تمام بس الروح 35 6 شهور 6 شهور الروح بس ما مشي بدون باور مش خلاص مفتين
الصورة العربية مو لما تروح في المريخ وهذا
والله يقول كم سمعنا اللي هو دنوس
هذا هو في مصر شيء بس شو اسمه بس انت تقول برقم وانت تسجل تشوف كذا جنب ايه في واحد
Try to keep your voices to a minimum, please. The presentation can start. Y'all want to move up front for you guys, fill in the empty gaps. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look towards the large gray circular module, you'll see 2 robots. Their names are Robonaut and Spidernaut. They were designed by NASA to help repair damages made to the International Space Station. Robonaut has 2 hands, each with 5 fingers. His fingers are so precise and accurate he can turn a single page of a book without ripping it. And in addition, he can type a full text to paragraph on a touchscreen device without making any mistakes or having to use autocorrect. Now, if you look directly in front of us, you'll see a large white pole. This pole was manufactured in Canada, so it can also be known as the Canada arm. This is a mock-up of the onboard International Space Station arm. It helps construct the space station and continues to provide spacewalk support and attaches visiting vehicles. Now up down below, you'll see our newest rovers. These are the multi-mission space exploration vehicles. They're about the size of a pickup truck and can house 2 astronauts for up to 14 days with full sanitary and sleeping facilities. In addition, NASA has redesigned their spacesuit system so that our astronauts have drastically decreased the time they have to put on their suits from about 2 hours to now just 30 minutes. With these newly designed spacesuit systems and our newest rovers, our astronauts now have the ability to stay for longer duration missions to finish further exploring whatever celestial body they may be on. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to be heading back down the stairs, returning to our same rows. Make sure you have your white boarding passes out and ready for pickup. Afterwards, we'll be heading over to Rocket Park. At this time, if you can please follow me.
Houston. It's really big. I thought it's small. Because on TV it looks small.
Looks small on TV.
So they used this before?
Yeah, this was for the launch to the moon.
Moon? Oh my god, it launched in the moon. What year was that? 1969. Oh my god, it's really big. I'm surprised how big it is. It's amazing. It's really huge. How many people inside?
Oh, this is the rocket. People don't ride in this part, man.
Oh, okay.
Up front.
So these are rockets.
They're in the capsule.
Y esa cápsula no ha entrado. Eso aquí de acá.
Oh my god. It's really big.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Nice.
Oh my god. It's really big.
Good? Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Huh? One sec. Huh? Photo?
Photo.
Oh, that's amazing.